if I told you that uh, the secret to building massive generational wealth actually has nothing to do with Wall Street or real estate or, finding that perfect crypto trend?
I mean, people would probably think you're crazy.
Right. But what if I told you it has everything to do with a World of Warcraft guild called Team Liquid?
Yeah, and it sounds completely absurd on the surface. We are so conditioned to think about wealth as uh, finding the right financial vehicle or just having some unteachable innate business talent.
Exactly.
But looking at elite esports, it entirely shatters that mystical view of how success is actually generated.
Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome to this custom-tailored deep dive designed specifically for you, the listener.
Gotta be here.
Today, our mission is to decode this fascinating source from creator Ali Abdaal. It details the brutally honest truth about making money. We're going to look really closely at the massive, often painful gap between wanting to be rich and actually getting rich.
It's a huge gap.
And we are starting completely out of left field with video games.
Yeah, so the source uses World of Warcraft to illustrate this really profound point about mastery. Team Liquid is widely considered the absolute best guild in the world.
Like the undisputed champions.
Right. They compete at the absolute highest levels of competitive gaming.
Yeah.
And their leader, he goes with the name Maximum, he makes this fascinating distinction between a player who is in the top 10% and a player who's in the top 0.001%.
The absolute elite of the elite, the untouchables.
Exactly. And the difference between those two groups isn't just, slightly better hand-eye coordination or faster reflexes. Maximum points out that virtually every single person in that top-tier guild has spent the last 15 to 20 years of their life dedicating 8 to 12 hours every single day to actively improving at this one specific game.
8 to 12 hours a day.
Every single day.
For 2 decades. That is essentially a grueling full-time job, plus overtime, dedicated entirely to a virtual fantasy world.
And consider what the average person was doing during that exact same decade or two.
Just living life, right.
Yeah, working a normal job, playing casual sports, watching television, socializing. The sheer volume of concentrated, deliberate time sunk into this singular pursuit by these elite players is, well, it's almost unfathomable to the average person.
It's a terrifying level of commitment, really.
It is.
It's completely wild to think about. But at the same time, we accept this underlying logic instantly for almost everything else in life.
Oh, totally.
Like, if you want to get jacked at the gym, you inherently know you have to spend hundreds of hours lifting heavy weights and meticulously tracking your nutrition.
Right, there's no shortcut.
If you want to be incredible at the guitar, you know you have to practice your scales until your fingers literally bleed. But for some reason, when it comes to personal finance, we totally fail to apply this basic logic of time and practice.
We disconnect the two.
It's like expecting to run a sub-3-hour marathon just because you bought incredibly expensive running shoes and really, really want to cross the finish line.
That's a great way to put it. The desire alone does absolutely nothing without the mileage. And to ground this in a relatable reality, the source shares the story of a hypothetical yet very common persona named Jane.
Okay, let's talk about Jane.
So for the last 10 years, Jane's primary goal in life has been to become a millionaire. She has deeply emotional, powerful reasons for this. She wants to achieve financial freedom, she wants to retire her aging parents, and she wants to pay off their mortgage.
Those are fantastic goals. I mean, that is a massive why that should theoretically drive her forward.
Yet when you ask Jane how many hours a week she spends actively trying to make money outside of her standard day job, her answer is 0.
0 hours. Over 10 years of wanting this desperately.
0. She had never even conceptualized the question. What's fascinating here is that society weaves money into its fabric so seamlessly, we end up treating it like the weather.
Like the weather. Wow.
Yeah, we treat wealth as a passive background condition. We assume it's something that just happens to you if you are lucky or, if you get the right promotion. We don't view money as a morally neutral objective that simply requires dedicated, quantifiable practice.
We just think it will eventually rain on us if we stand outside looking up for long enough.
Exactly.
But if wealth is a deliberate skill that requires practice, just like hitting the gym or raiding in World of Warcraft, the natural next question is kind of terrifying. Where does the time for that practice actually come from?
That's the million-dollar question.
Because no one listening to this right now feels like they have 8 spare hours just lying around waiting to be used.
Right. And this is where we have to confront the behavioral economics and the ruthless math of a standard week. Everyone, regardless of their background or current financial status, has exactly 168 hours in a week.
Okay, doing the math.
If we subtract 56 hours for sleep and roughly 12 hours for basic biological survival, like eating, showering, using the bathroom, we are left with exactly 100 hours.
100 hours still sounds like a massive amount of time on paper.
It does, until the psychological friction of modern life sets in. From those 100 hours, you have to subtract your 40 to 80-hour job.
Yep, that takes a huge chunk.
Then you have to subtract commuting, taking care of your kids, family obligations, maintaining your household. But the core insight from the source isn't just about the math. It's about the cognitive load.
Being tired, essentially.
Yes, we feel profoundly starved for time because modern life is exhausting. Decision fatigue sets in by 5 p.m. So the ultimate question for you listening right now is this. Of the remaining discretionary hours, those few precious hours left over at the margins of your life when you are already tired, how many of them are deliberately devoted to making money?
I have to jump in and ask a pointed question on behalf of the listener here.
Go for it.
Does listening to this deep dive right now count as working on making money? Because technically, we're learning about wealth creation. We are absorbing high-level strategies, right?
The source provides a very harsh, very clear rule for this. Let's call it the 3 to 6 month rule.
Okay.
When you are just starting out reading books, watching YouTube videos, or listening to educational deep dives, totally counts as active work. But that only counts for the first 3 to 6 months of your journey.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because reading about it isn't the same as doing it.
No, it's not.
It's the difference between reading a cookbook in bed and actually standing in the kitchen chopping onions.
That distinction is vital. Passive consumption feels productive because it triggers a dopamine release in your brain.
You feel like you're doing something.
You feel like you are making progress because you are acquiring knowledge. But after month 6, passive consumption entirely stops counting as work. You are no longer moving the needle. You are just entertaining yourself with business-themed content.
Ouch. That's a wake-up call. So if listening to podcasts doesn't count forever, what does chopping the onions actually look like?
Beyond that 6-month mark, true active work means you are building. You are building tangible skills, building a product, or building a service that solves a real problem people are actually willing to pay for.
So it has to be output.
Right. You are either actively improving your specific skills at your day job, so you can force the hand of your employer and negotiate a significant raise, or you are directly building your own business infrastructure. Passive learning is emotionally safe. Active building requires putting yourself out there and risking failure.
But knowing you need to chop onions is one thing. The real shock comes when you look at what happens to the people who actually stand in the kitchen, put in the grueling hours, and still seemingly end up with nothing to show for it.
Yeah, that's where people give up.
So how do we measure the effectiveness of this time?
To understand the mechanics of translating time into actual money, the source introduces the architecture of wealth creation, which they call the funnel.
The funnel, got it.
It's a psychological framework for mapping causality, and it is incredibly powerful for reducing the anxiety of the creator. At the very top of the funnel is time.
Okay.
The time you invest leads to actions. Those actions lead to outputs. Outputs eventually lead to outcomes. And finally, those outcomes lead to money.
Let's make sure that's crystal clear. Time creates actions.
Actions create outputs. Outputs create outcomes. And outcomes create money. It's a sequential chain reaction. The crucial takeaway from this funnel is understanding your locus of control. This is why people burn out. They tie their emotional well-being to the outcomes.
Which they don't control.
Exactly. Outcomes, whether someone likes your video, subscribes to your newsletter, or agrees to your sales call, are only partially in your control. You cannot force the algorithm to favor you, and you cannot force a client to open their wallet.
But you completely control the outputs.
Precisely. You control how many hours you sit at the desk. You control how many pitch emails you send. You control hitting the publish button. By shifting your focus entirely to the outputs, you remove the emotional paralysis of waiting for the market to validate you.
You control the inputs, not the weather. And the source backs up this theory with real, anonymized scorecard data from students inside a program called the Lifestyle Business Academy.
The data is incredibly revealing because it strips away the narrative and just looks at the math. Let's look at a student we'll call Hermione.
Okay, Hermione.
She has a very demanding full-time job and 2 children, Yet week after week, she carves out between 9 and 15 hours to dedicate to her business.
Wow.
And she is highly effective.
Hmm.
She posts 5 to 7 pieces of content weekly, she sends targeted direct messages, she books discovery calls, and she is actively closing revenue.
She is basically the model student. I mean, she is busy, exhausted like the rest of us, but she is finding that 10 to 15 hours and successfully turning it all the way through the funnel into actual revenue.
But the source contrasts Hermione's success with the raw data of another student, a beginner named Harry.
Okay, how's Harry doing?
Harry is entering a market where he has absolutely no prior experience. He is only 12 weeks into the program, and his revenue is zero. He hasn't made a single cent.
Oh, man. He's putting in the time, but the funnel isn't spitting out money yet.
But when you look at his scorecard, the underlying metrics are staggering. He is investing 12 to 21 hours a week into his business. His outputs are massive.
What's he doing with that time?
He is sending 50 to 70 cold outreach direct messages a week. He is consistently posting content across platforms. He is just grinding through the actions at the top of the funnel.
I honestly think Harry's data is the most brilliant part of this entire source.
Really?
Yeah. It might sound deeply depressing to the average person that he hasn't made a dime after working 20 hours a week for 3 months, but his sheer volume of hours means his eventual success is mathematically inevitable.
That's a great point.
He's taking so many swings at the bat that purely by the law of averages, he's bound to hit a home run eventually. He is building the infrastructure of luck.
Absolutely.
So look at your own scorecard right now. Are you a Hermione, effectively turning limited time into money? Are you a Harry, putting in massive unrewarded reps to build the foundation? Or are you a Jane, desperately wanting the result but putting in 0 hours?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, time is the primary domino in the chain of wealth creation. We spend an exorbitant amount of mental energy worrying about having the perfect strategy, the perfect logo, or the perfect offer.
Right, the fun stuff.
But none of that matters if the first domino, the raw time investment, doesn't fall. Strategy is simply a multiplier. If your time investment is 0, multiplying it by the greatest strategy in the world still equals 0. You cannot optimize a machine that isn't running.
I hear that loud and clear, but I also know the listener is pushing back right now. Grinding 15 to 20 hours a week on top of a full-time job, maintaining a marriage and raising kids sounds absolutely exhausting.
It is exhausting.
It sounds like a one-way ticket to severe burnout. Is this really the only way? Look at Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates. They clearly aren't sitting at their laptops spending 80 hours a week sending cold outreach DMs on LinkedIn.
Definitely not.
Does this brutal math of exchanging time for outputs apply to everyone forever?
That is a critical pushback, and it brings us to the source's most important caveat: leverage.
Okay, leverage?
Pro entrepreneurs, the billionaires of the world, do not need to put in massive hour-for-hour grinds today because they have spent decades building up tremendous leverage.
Let's break down what leverage actually means in this context.
Leverage comes in multiple forms. It's capital leverage, having money that makes money. It's labor leverage, employing a team of people to execute the funnel for you.
Right.
It's audience leverage, having millions of people who already trust your brand. When Jeff Bezos makes a single phone call, it might move billions of dollars. His time is exponentially leveraged.
Whereas 1 hour of Harry's time moves $0 right now because he has no audience, no capital, and no team.
Exactly. For beginners, people who lack all of those established advantages, massive time investment is the only accessible shortcut. Time is the only currency you have in your pocket right now to buy your initial leverage.
You trade your time to build an audience.
Yes, you trade your time to earn capital. Eventually, you use that capital and audience to buy back your time. But the initial sacrifice is mandatory.
And we cannot gloss over the word sacrifice. You can't just magically manifest an extra 15 hours a week without giving something up.
It requires significant, often painful trade-offs. The source shares Ali Abdaal's own origin story to illustrate this. Starting in 2013, he was managing the grueling, sleep-deprived schedule of a medical student and later a junior doctor.
Which is insane on its own.
Right. Yet he still managed to dedicate 10 to 15 hours a week to building his online business. He didn't have a time turner. He had to carve that time out of somewhere.
He had to sacrifice the exact things the rest of us do to unwind and decompress after a hard day.
And the challenge posed to the listener is to look at your own technological habits. Check the screen time app on your phone today.
Oh no, that's always scary.
It is. Are you spending 10 to 15 hours a week passively scrolling social media, falling down algorithmic rabbit holes, or binge-watching streaming services? If you are, that is the exact time that must be reclaimed.
It's right there, hiding in plain sight.
The source actually offers a free 168-hour spreadsheet specifically designed to help you audit your week, bypass your own cognitive dissonance, and find those hidden hours.
You literally track every hour like a financial budget to see where the time leaks are. And look, if you do find those hours and you are finally ready to start chopping the onions, the source also provided a really practical toolkit to help you skip some of the friction that stops people in their tracks.
This part is crucial.
It's a platform called Stan.
The technological barrier to entry is massive for a lot of people. They get bogged down in the output stage of the funnel because building a website, setting up payment gateways, and integrating email servers it's overwhelming.
Yeah, you spend 3 weeks just trying to connect a domain name.
Exactly. Stan is designed specifically to remove that psychological and technical friction.
Exactly. If you want to sell courses, digital products, or coaching, Stan is basically an all-in-one storefront that bridges the gap between your effort and your outcome.
Which is exactly what you want when you're starting.
You don't need to know a single line of code. It takes the excuse of, I don't know how to build a website, completely off the table. Plus, it's $29 a month, takes less than 5 minutes to set up, takes zero cut of your sales, and offers a 14-day free trial.
That's a low barrier to entry.
It's the exact tool recommended to the Lifestyle Business Academy students to ensure that when they put in those hardened hours, they have a functional, frictionless system to actually capture the revenue.
Which brings the entire philosophy full circle back to the funnel. You audit your life to find the time. You use friction-removing tools to facilitate the actions and outputs.
Yeah.
And you detach emotionally as you push toward the outcomes.
So what does this all mean if we distill everything we've unpacked today into a single, actionable truth for the listener? It comes down to this. Money is not a magical event that happens to you. Wealth is not the weather.
Well said.
It is a downstream outcome of deliberately trading your precious, finite, discretionary time to solve problems for other people. You have to stop treating your financial goals like daydreams and start treating them like a measurable output of your own sweat equity.
And if you are listening to this right now and feeling a bit overwhelmed by the sheer size of the mountain in front of you, remember that the first step isn't having the perfect business plan.
Right.
It isn't having a flawless product or a massive audience. The absolute first step, the primary domino that triggers everything else, is simply looking at your week and carving out the time. Once you secure the hours, every other skill can be learned.
You've got to claim the time before you can use it. But before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a lingering thought. We've spent this entire deep dive establishing that the source treats money as a morally neutral goal, a quantifiable objective that requires trading your finite, irreplaceable, discretionary time.
Right.
But let's say you do it. Let's say you successfully trade 15 hours a week for years, you make the sacrifices, and you build this incredible financial engine. At what point does the engine start running you? When do you decide you have enough money to finally buy back the very time you sacrificed to get it?